Look, I'm about to tell you something that's going to sound almost too simple. And I get it. When something sounds this straightforward, we tend to dismiss it. We think, there's got to be more to it than that. But stick with me here, because what I'm sharing with you right now has literally changed everything for me. And I mean everything. Here it is. Your mind believes whatever you keep telling it. That's it. I know. It sounds basic. But think about this for a second. Your mind doesn't fact check you. It doesn't go, is that really true? It just takes what you're constantly feeding it and says, okay, that's who we are. That's what we can do. That's what life is like. And the crazy part? Every single thing in your life right now, your job, your relationships, your bank account, your confidence level, all of it started as thoughts you kept repeating to yourself. I'm not trying to sell you some magical thinking nonsense here. I'm talking about something way more practical and honestly a little scary when you first realize it. Because if your mind believes what you repeat, then you've been programming yourself this whole time without even knowing it. Every time you've said, I'm not good at this, or things never work out for me, or I'm just not that kind of person, your brain heard that and went, got it, boss. Let me make sure that stays true. Most of us walk around thinking life just happens to us, right? We think we're victims of circumstance, of bad luck, of how we were raised, of our genetics, whatever. But here's what I've learned, and this was hard for me to accept at first. We're not victims. We're participants. We've been participating in creating our reality through the things we say to ourselves over and over and over again. We just didn't realize we were doing it. Let me give you an example. Think about your mind like soil. Stay with me here. This actually makes sense. Soil doesn't care what you plant in it. You can plant roses or you can plant weeds. It'll grow whatever you give it because that's what soil does. It doesn't judge. It just grows. Your mind works the same way. You keep planting thoughts of doubt, you're going to grow a garden full of doubt. You keep planting thoughts of possibility, that's what's going to grow. Simple as that. Now here's where people mess up. They hear this and think, okay, I'll just think positive thoughts for a week and everything will change. And then a week goes by, nothing's different, and they're like, see, this stuff doesn't work. But would you plant a seed today and dig it up tomorrow demanding to see a tree? Of course not. You'd think that was ridiculous. But that's exactly what we do with our thoughts. We try something new for a few days while we've got 20, 30, maybe 40 years of old programming still running in the background. And then we wonder why nothing shifts. Here's the thing, though, and this is where it gets hopeful. It doesn't matter how long you've believed something. It really doesn't. What matters is what you're repeating now, consistently, from this point forward. Repetition is more powerful than time. I've seen this in my own life. I spent years thinking I wasn't capable of certain things. Years. And then I started deliberately changing what I was saying to myself. Not because I believed it at first, I didn't, but because I was willing to test this out. And honestly, it felt weird at first, really weird, like I was lying to myself. I'd look in the mirror and say, I'm confident, I'm capable, and my brain would be like, no, we're not. Remember that embarrassing thing you did last week? But I kept going, every morning, every night, sometimes multiple times a day. And slowly, and I mean slowly, this wasn't overnight, something started to shift. I started noticing I was speaking up in situations where I used to stay quiet. I was taking action on ideas I used to just think about. Small stuff at first, but it was different. And then I realized the world hadn't changed. I had. My circumstances hadn't magically transformed. but I was showing up differently because I'd literally reprogrammed my mind through repetition. Let me tell you what most people don't realize about this. When you say I am, followed by anything, you're not just describing yourself. You're instructing your mind about who to be. Every single time you say, I'm bad with money, your brain goes, okay, let me make sure we make bad financial decisions. When you say, I'm awkward in social situations, your body tenses up, your words get jumbled, and you prove yourself right. Not because it's actually true, but because your mind is just following orders. But it works the other way, too. When you start saying, I'm resourceful, even if you don't feel resourceful yet, your brain starts looking for evidence of that. It starts noticing times when you figured things out. It starts pointing you towards solutions instead of problems. Same person, same situations, completely different experience, all because of what you're repeating to yourself. Now, I can already hear some of you thinking, but isn't that just lying to myself? If I'm broke and I say I'm abundant, isn't that just denial? And look, I get that question because I asked it too. But here's what I've come to understand. You're not lying. You're deciding. There's a difference. You're not pretending your bank account is full when it's empty. You're deciding that broke isn't your identity. You're deciding what direction you're heading. You're choosing what story gets to be true going forward. Think about athletes for a second. Do you think Olympic athletes wait until they feel like champions before they start imagining winning the gold medal? No way. They visualize success hundreds, thousands of times before it happens. They repeat phrases of victory and strength when they're exhausted, when they're in pain, when they're doubting themselves. They're not lying, they're programming. They're training their mind to match where they want their body to go. You can do this with anything, anything. Want better health? Stop narrating every symptom to everyone who'll listen. Start saying, even just to yourself, my body knows how to heal. I'm getting stronger. Want better relationships? Stop telling the story of how nobody understands you. Start repeating, I attract good people. I'm worthy of love and respect. Want more success? Stop rehearsing your failures. Start declaring, I figure things out. Opportunities come to me. Will it feel fake at first? Probably. Will you feel like you're talking to yourself like a crazy person? Maybe. But here's what I've learned. Feeling weird is just the sign that you're doing something different. And different is exactly what you need if you want different results. The mind is so literal, you guys. It doesn't get sarcasm. It doesn't understand when you're just joking. When you say, even casually, ugh, I'm such an idiot. Your mind files that away as information about who you are. When you say, I can never catch a break, your brain makes note of that and starts filtering your experience to prove it true. Not because the universe is against you, but because your mind is just trying to be consistent with what you keep telling it. And here's the part that used to frustrate me. You have to be patient with this. Your mind is like clay that's been shaped a certain way for years. You can't just squish it into a new shape instantly. It takes time to soften, to remold. But every single day that you repeat your new truth, you're softening that clay. You're making it more pliable. And one day, maybe not tomorrow, maybe not next week, but one day, you'll wake up and realize the new thought pattern has become your default. And that's when everything changes. Doubt's going to show up, by the way. Just so you know, you're going to repeat your new phrases for a few days, maybe a couple weeks, and then one morning you'll wake up and think, this is stupid. Nothing's happening. I'm wasting my time. And this is the moment where most people quit, right before the breakthrough, because what they don't realize is that doubt isn't evidence that it's not working. Doubt is just the old programming fighting back. It's like the death rattle of an old identity that doesn't want to be replaced. When doubt shows up, and it will, don't fight it. Don't waste energy trying to argue it away. Just go back to your repetitions. Say your phrases again. Feel them again. Picture them again. Out-repeat the doubt. Because doubt is loud, but it's not persistent. If you're more consistent than the doubt, you'll win. Every single time. It's like fog in the morning. It looks thick and real, but the sun comes up and burns it away. Your repetitions are that sun. Keep them shining. I've watched people completely transform using this, and I'm not talking about people with special advantages or some secret knowledge. I'm talking about regular people who just decided to stop repeating the old story and start speaking a new one. I've seen people heal from chronic issues. I've seen people go from paycheck to financial stability. I've seen shy, anxious people become confident and purposeful. Not overnight, but it happened through nothing more complicated than changing what they were repeating to themselves every day. And here's the beautiful part. This isn't reserved for certain types of people. It's not like some people get to use this and others don't. This is just how the mind works for everyone. The question is just whether you're going to use it intentionally or let it run on autopilot with whatever random programming got installed in your childhood. So let me ask you something. Right now, in this moment, what have you been repeating to yourself? What's the running commentary in your head? Is it building you up or tearing you down? Is it expanding what's possible for you or keeping you stuck in the same patterns? Because I promise you, whatever you've been repeating, you're living in the reality of those repetitions right now. Your current life is just an echo of your most frequent thoughts. But here's the good news. And honestly, this is what gets me excited. You can change this today, right now. You don't need anyone's permission. You don't need perfect circumstances. You don't need to feel ready or confident or healed or successful first. You just need to start talking to yourself differently. Pick one thing, one area of your life that you want to see shift, and create one simple statement about it, something you can repeat easily, naturally, often. Make it personal, make it present tense, make it clear. Not, I want to be confident, but I am confident. Not, I hope to be successful, but I am successful in what I do. Not, maybe I'll be healthy, but my body is strong and healthy. And then just repeat it. Morning, noon, night. When you're brushing your teeth, when you're in the shower, when you're driving, when you're falling asleep, flood your mind with this new phrase until there's no room left for the old one. And don't just say it robotically. Feel it. Even if you have to fake the feeling at first, fake it. Imagine what it would feel like if it were already true. If you're saying, I am confident, picture yourself walking into a room with your shoulders back, head up, voice steady. If you're saying, I am abundant, imagine the feeling of security, of having more than enough, of not worrying about money. The more emotion you pack into these repetitions, the faster they take root. This isn't some woo-woo magic trick. This is just understanding that your brain is programmable. It's a tool. Right now, for most people, it's been programmed randomly by whatever experiences and influences happen to them. But you can take over that programming. You can be intentional about it. And when you do, when you really commit to repeating new truths until they become your default, your life has no choice but to follow. I'm not saying your problems will vanish instantly. I'm not saying you'll wake up tomorrow in a completely different reality. What I'm saying is that if you change what you're repeating, you change what you're becoming. And when you change what you're becoming, everything else starts to shift. Your decisions shift, your actions shift, your opportunities shift, and gradually, sometimes suddenly, your entire life shifts to match the person you've been declaring yourself to be. Let me be real with you about something else. Your environment matters. The people you're around, the content you consume, the conversations you have, all of that is repetition too. If you're trying to reprogram yourself for success, but you're surrounded by people who constantly complain, who talk about how hard everything is, who reinforce limitations, that's going to make your job harder. Not impossible, but harder, because their repetitions become part of your mental environment. Think about it. You listen to someone complain about money for 30 minutes, and even if you don't agree, some of that energy seeps in. You watch news that's all doom and gloom, and suddenly you're a little more anxious, a little more fearful. You scroll through social media seeing everyone's highlight reels, and you start repeating to yourself, I'm behind, I'm not doing enough. It's all input, and input becomes repetition in your mind. So you've got to be strategic about what you're letting in. I'm not saying become some isolated hermit who avoids everyone, but I am saying be intentional. Maybe that means limiting time with certain people. Maybe it means changing what you watch or read first thing in the morning. Maybe it means finding just one person who believes in what you're trying to create and talking to them regularly. Your mind is absorbing everything around you, so make sure what's around you supports where you're trying to go, not where you've been. And look, I know some of you are thinking, but what about real problems? What about actual challenges I'm facing? Is this just about ignoring reality? No, that's not what I'm saying at all. Acknowledging reality is fine. Dwelling in it, rehearsing it, making it your entire identity, that's different. There's a huge difference between saying, I'm going through a tough time right now, and saying, my life is always a mess. Nothing ever works out for me. I'm just unlucky. One acknowledges a current situation, the other programs your mind for permanent failure. You can be honest about where you are while still declaring where you're headed. You can say, money's tight this month, but I'm resourceful and I'm figuring it out. You can say, I'm dealing with health issues, but my body knows how to heal and I'm supporting it. See the difference? You're not denying the challenge. You're just not letting the challenge become your identity through repetition. Here's another thing I've noticed. People get really attached to their problems, like weirdly attached. They tell the same story about their struggle over and over to anyone who will listen. And I get it. Sometimes we need to vent, sometimes we need support. But there's a point where telling your story stops being healing and starts being rehearsal. You're literally practicing being stuck. You're getting better and better at being the person who has this problem. And your mind, it's listening, it's taking notes, it's going, okay, this is clearly who we are. This is our narrative. Let me make sure everything aligns with this. And so the problem persists, not necessarily because it has to, but because you've given it so much repetition that your mind thinks it's supposed to be there. It's become part of your identity. Breaking free from that takes courage. It takes willingness to stop getting sympathy for your struggle and start claiming victory before you see it. People might not understand. They might think you're in denial or being unrealistic, but you're not trying to convince them. You're training your mind, and your mind doesn't care what other people think. It only cares what you keep telling it. I also want to talk about what happens when you start seeing small shifts, because this is another place where people sabotage themselves. Let's say you've been repeating, I'm confident for 2 weeks, and then you have one good interaction where you spoke up and felt good about it. That's progress, right? But here's what a lot of people do. They immediately go back to the old pattern. They think, okay, I did it once, I'm good now. And they stop the repetitions. No. That one moment isn't the finish line. It's proof that the process is working. It's a sign to keep going, not to stop, because what you're building isn't just one moment of confidence. You're building a new default setting, and that takes continued repetition even after you start seeing results, especially after you start seeing results, because that's when your mind is most vulnerable to slipping back into the old comfortable patterns. Now, let me tell you what's probably going to happen when you really commit to this. You're going to go through phases. At first, it'll feel mechanical and forced. That's normal. Then you'll hit a phase where it starts to feel a little more natural and you'll notice small changes. That's encouraging. But then, and this is important, you'll probably hit a phase where it feels like nothing's happening, like you plateaued. This is the danger zone. This is where most people quit. But here's what's actually happening during that plateau. Your mind is consolidating. It's rewiring at a deeper level. If you stop during the plateau, you miss the breakthrough that's right around the corner. So push through. When it feels like nothing's happening, that's when your repetitions matter most. I want you to understand something else. This isn't about perfection. You're going to have bad days. You're going to catch yourself thinking old thoughts, saying old things. That's fine. That's human. The difference now is that you're aware of it, and awareness means you can redirect. When you catch yourself repeating something negative, don't beat yourself up about it. Just notice it, and then deliberately say something different. That's not my truth anymore. My truth is this. Over time, those redirections become automatic. You catch the old pattern faster. You switch to the new one more easily. This is a practice, not a perfect. You're training your mind like you'd train your body. Some days the workout is great. Some days it's a struggle. But you keep showing up. You keep putting in the reps. And over time, you get stronger. The mind is always looking for patterns. It's always trying to confirm what it believes. So if you've been believing you're unlucky, your mind highlights every unfortunate thing and ignores every blessing. But if you start believing you're favored, your mind flips the script. Same life, different lens, completely different experience. This is why two people can live in almost identical circumstances and one feels blessed while the other feels cursed. It's not about what's happening. It's about the story they're telling themselves about what's happening. And that story is built through repetition. So here's what I want you to do. Tonight, before you go to sleep, choose one thing, one belief you want to install, one truth you want to become real for you. Write it down if that helps, and then say it out loud. Say it with feeling. Say it like you mean it, even if you don't mean it yet. And then say it again tomorrow, and the next day, and the day after that. Don't stop because you don't see results. Don't stop because it feels silly. Don't stop because doubt shows up. Just keep repeating, because here's what I've learned, and this is probably the most important thing I can tell you. Your mind will believe whatever you repeat to it. It doesn't care if it's true today. It just cares what you're consistently telling it. And if you're consistent enough, persistent enough, stubborn enough to keep repeating your new truth even when everything around you seems to contradict it, your mind will eventually accept it. And once your mind accepts it, your life will arrange itself around it. This is the law, not complicated, not mystical, just simple cause and effect. What you repeat, you become. What you declare, you attract. What you imagine with feeling and frequency, you manifest. The power isn't somewhere out there. It's in your mouth, in your mind, in your daily repetitions. Use it. Test it. Watch what happens when you stop letting life program you and start programming yourself. The difference is everything. Your mind is the soil. Your words are the seeds. Your life is the harvest. Plant carefully. plant consistently, and then trust that something's growing even when you can't see it yet, because it is, always.